friends, welcome back to Freedom Homestead. I'm Tangi and today we are in the homestead kitchen cooking up some south of the border chicken soup, and then we are going to can it to make it shelf stable. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that if you are not subscribed to our channel, to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Here at Freedom Homestead, we are about life, liberty, and the pursuit of preparedness. So let's get to canning.
What makes your garden grow? Water and sunshine. What makes your spirit grow? Knowing that she'll be mine.
All right, my friends, like I said, today we are cooking up south of the border chicken soup, and I am getting the recipe out of this jewel here. This is the Amish Canning Cookbook by Georgia Veroza. It is an awesome recipe canning book, and the recipe that we're going to be using is found on page 197. So let's start. All right, my friends, I have already done a little bit of prep work to get this going a little bit faster. This soup actually cooks up pretty quickly because everything is already pre-cooked. So really we're just going to be heating it up and then putting it into the jars. I currently have my jars in the dishwasher. They're nice and hot. And then I have my canner over here, and I'm going to turn it on so it can start heating up. So back here in this pot, I'm going to turn my heat on to medium-high, and I already have 3 chicken breasts that I have cooked in my slow cooker. I put them in this morning. They were frozen. They were frozen solid. I threw them in my slow cooker, no seasonings or anything, just so they would cook while I was working this morning. That way I knew that these would be ready to go when I was ready to can. So I went ahead, pulled them out, and diced them up. So that is 3 chicken breasts. Okay. To that, I've got a 1.5 cups of carrots. To that, we're gonna add 2 cans of kidney beans that have been rinsed and drained, and that's 2 15-ounce cans. We're also going to add, this is 3 garlic cloves that have been peeled and minced, and then I also have some jalapenos that have been chopped. This recipe actually does call for 2 cups of diced celery, but my husband does not like cooked celery. He doesn't like celery at all. So we're just gonna leave that out. And now we're also going to add 12 cups of chicken broth. I'm using this roasted chicken broth that I got from my salvage store. They had these buy 1 get 2 free. And so I bought 6 boxes. I knew I was going to be canning and thought this would be perfect. The recipe also calls for 6 cups of diced tomatoes, either fresh or canned. This is not going to be 6 cups. But I am going to use what I've got. And I'm using canned. I just have these, I have a couple of cans of this organic whole peeled tomatoes. I'm gonna put all that sauce in there. So I just gotten a phone call, so I went ahead and I add my seasonings, 1 tablespoon of pickling salt or kosher salt. You just don't want to use iodized salt because iodized salt can cause cloudiness in your canning, and then a teaspoon of cumin. But like I said, you can absolutely 100% totally omit the salt. It has nothing to do with the preservation. It's just adding flavor. So I just tasted my soup. It tastes really good. So I'm gonna let this come up to a simmer, and I'm gonna let it simmer for 5 minutes. And then while it's doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting things ready to put this in my jars. We are ready to start jarring these up. Now, legend has it, this recipe makes 7 quarts. I'm highly skeptical. We'll see. Of course, I probably won't get as much just because I didn't use the 2 cups of celery or the 6 cups of tomatoes, but I'm hoping to have something close to 7, so we'll see. All right, so let's get this jarred up. I make the biggest mess when I do this. A good rule of thumb when you're canning soup is you want half the contents of the jar to be your solids and then the rest of it to be your liquid. Okay, we're going to leave 1 inch headspace. I'm going to use my debubbler and give this a stir. I'm going to take a paper towel that's been dampened in some distilled white vinegar. Wipe my lid. Now my jars have been inspected for cracks and nicks. These are brand new jars. Even if you get brand new jars, you still want to inspect them. I have bought jars before and every single one of them have a crack in them. I contacted the manufacturer and they sent me vouchers to get new jars. So if that ever happens to you, always inspect your jars, new case or not. If it is a brand new case, contact the company. Not the one you bought it from, but the one that made them. Because if they're broken, especially the ones that I got were broken on the inside of the jar, that is not the store's fault, that's the manufacturer's fault. All right, I'm gonna grab another jar. So I ended up getting 6 quarts. I do have some soup left in my pot over here, which I'm just gonna add some more broth to that, and then I think me and my son and my husband will have that for dinner tonight. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my lid on, woohoo, checking it, making sure everything looks good. So quarts need to process for 90 minutes. So I just turned the heat all the way up. We're gonna let this vent for 10 minutes, which just means we're gonna let a steady stream of steam come out of the vent. That's getting all the air pockets out, bringing up the pressure in the inside the canner. It shouldn't take that long since I already had it heating while I was filling my jars. So we're gonna let this come to a steam. I don't know if you can tell it's already starting. When it gets to a good steady stream of steam, we're gonna time it for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we're going to put on our pressure weight. And then when we reach to pressure, for my area is 10 pounds, then we're gonna start the timer for 90 minutes. If you are canning in quarts, if you're canning in pints, you will process for 75 minutes, okay? So I'm already venting, so I'm gonna start my timer. I just realized that I left out the corn. There's supposed to be 3 cups of corn in there, and I bet if I had included the corn, I would have gotten 7 quarts. That's okay, that's okay. I'll just remember to add corn to it whenever I warm it up. It's no big deal. Not this time, but I can't believe I forgot it. Okay, friends, it has been 10 minutes and the timer went off. I've got my weight on, and now what we're doing is we are waiting for the pressure to come up to 10 pounds or whatever the pressure is for your area. And yeah, and then once I get up to 10, I'm gonna start the timer for 90 minutes. I'm up to the pressure. My weight is starting to jiggle, and so now I'm gonna set the timer for 90 minutes. When we come back, we'll be taking these out of the canner. My timer just went off, so I've cut off the heat and I have moved my canner off the heat so it can start coming down. So what we're gonna do, what we're looking for is right now it's still at 10 pounds pressure. We want that to go all the way down to 0, and we want that valve to drop. When that happens, we will take our pressure weight off, And then we'll let this hang out for a little bit longer before we take the jars out. All right, friends, we've got our valve is down, the gauge is at 0. And this has been sitting for a little while, so I'm going to open this and get the jars. I obviously forgot to put vinegar in my water. You can see the mineral deposits on the jars, but that's okay. In the morning, after these have cooled and we come to check the seals, I just take a warm, wet washcloth and put a little bit of white vinegar in it and wipe them down, then rinse them off, and that tends to help. So anyway, you can see that the broth got a lot richer during the canning process, and hopefully very soon these will start to pop while they seal. So we'll come back in the morning and check on them. All right, friends, it is the next day. I have taken the seals off. I've checked the lids. They all sealed really nice for me. Yeah, so now I have 6 beautiful jars of soup, shelf stable. Don't have to worry about power going out. And it's a quick meal. It is the homestead fast food. Love it. So when I label these, I will put a note on there to add a half a cup of corn when preparing, since I forgot to include them in while I was canning these. So yeah, that is South of the Border chicken soup from the Amish Canning Cookbook. I hope you guys give it a try. Let me know if you do in the comment section below, and until next time.